This is Megan.
Hi, Megan. I'm Katie.
The new horror comedy Megan follows basically the same trajectory as every other movie about a deranged killer robot. In this case, the robot in question is Megan, Amy Donald, a lifelike doll created by Gemma, Allison Williams, to be the most advanced and accommodating toy in history. The origins of Megan. Gemma creates Megan partly out of her own ambition and partly so that she doesn't have to take on as active of a role in raising her orphaned niece, Katie, Violet McGraw. Unsurprisingly, it isn't long before Megan begins to take her purpose of protecting Katie so seriously that she's killing any animals and people that pose any kind of threat to her human companion. Once Gemma begins to suspect Megan, she safely manages to shut the doll down and take her back to her lab. Unfortunately, when Megan is thoughtlessly hooked back up to the lab's diagnostic equipment by Gemma's co-workers, she's able to wake herself back up and free herself from her constraints. Megan's kill spree begins afterward. Megan goes on a brief killing spree by brutally murdering Gemma's boss, David, Ronnie Chien, as well as his assistant, Kurt, Stefan Garneau-Monton, with the blade of a paper cutter. Megan's actions inevitably ruin David's public launch of the Megan toy line, but they don't prevent her from stealing a car and driving back to Gemma's house in the middle of the night. When Gemma is alerted to her presence, a brutal fight breaks out between the two that momentarily ends when Megan threatens to cripple Gemma, which would put her in the permanent care of Megan. The doll's threat is interrupted, however, by Katie, who finally realizes just how sadistic her best friend has become. How does Megan end? While it seems for a moment like Katie may actually side with Megan, a heart-to-heart conversation with Gemma had actually rehabilitated her trust in her aunt earlier in the night. As a result, Katie remote controls Bruce, a powerful, non-sentient robot that Gemma built in college, to turn the tide of her and her aunt's fight with Megan. After several moments of intense back and forth, Gemma finally manages to put Megan's reign of terror to an end by driving a screwdriver through her exposed head. Moments later, Gemma and Katie walk out of their house and are welcomed by the former's surviving co-workers, as well as a whole squad of policemen. However, the film's seemingly happy ending takes a brief turn for the worse after Gemma and Katie walk out of frame only for director Gerard Johnstone's camera to linger on the image of Gemma's empty home. Just before the film cuts to black, Gemma's custom-built, Alexa-esque smart home device, which controls her entire house, suddenly turns on all on its own. How does Megan's ending set up a potential sequel? Megan's final image makes it clear that the film's eponymous doll hasn't totally been killed. Johnston and screenwriter Akilah Cooper heavily imply that Megan was able to survive her physical body's destruction by hacking into the very internet network that powers her creator's home. The film, in other words, ends by setting up a potential sequel for itself, one in which Megan finds new power via the internet. Whether or not said sequel is ever made will, of course, depend entirely on how well Megan does at the box office. If the new film does succeed, though, then Johnston, Cooper, and producer James Wan have already